From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Davie DeForrest reporting the TSA under fire. A recent audit of the U.S. Transportation Security Administration shows the agency has failed to identify 73 workers with links to terrorism. A recently released report from the Inspector General's office says that while the TSA screening of its workers was generally effective, the agency does not have access to a terrorist watch list information needed for more thorough evaluation. John Roth is the Homeland Security Department Inspector General.
The 73 individuals we believe is the sort of sum entirety of what was missed. We gave those names to TSA as soon as we discovered them, and I think they're following up on each of those.
A report recommends that TSA request and review additional watch list data. A series of terrorist bombings killed at least 20 people Tuesday in and around Iraq's capital, Baghdad. The most serious blast came when a car bomb blew up along the city's busy Palestine street. Police in New York State searched Tuesday for 2 escaped killers. Dozens of police armed with rifles walked through farms and fields near the town of Willsboro, looking for David Sweet and Richard Matt. Authorities said they believe the 2 men are on foot after an escape last week from a maximum security prison near the Canadian border. An Egyptian court sentenced 11 people to death Tuesday in connection with a 2012 riot at a soccer stadium in Port Said. The riot left 74 people dead and hundreds injured. Egypt's worst case of soccer violence began at the end of a match when local fans stormed the field and fought with visiting fans. This is VOA News. African heads of state gathered for this year's African Union Summit in Johannesburg and will discuss conflicts raging in Burundi, South Sudan, Mali, and Nigeria, as well as other states. VOA's Anita Powell looks.
Conflict, both political and civil, is likely to dominate discussion as African heads of state meet for the twice-yearly summit. This year, those include political unrest in Burundi as the longtime president attempts to run for a third term, political and ethnic conflict in the new nation of South Sudan, and the ongoing threat of Boko Haram insurgents in Nigeria. Add to that the older conflicts in Somalia, which hasn't had a stable government for more than 2 decades, Eastern Congo, which has been mired in miserable conflicts since the 1990s, and the continuing fallout from the 2011 downfall of Libya's longtime leader. Anita Powell, VOA News, Johannesburg.
Eritrea is dismissing a United Nations report that accused the country of systematic, widespread, and gross human rights violations. In a statement Tuesday, the Eritrean Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the report is totally unfounded and devoid of all merit. The Standard & Poor's rating agency says cyber attacks are emerging as an increasing risk for companies around the world. An S&P report released Tuesday says global losses may run as high as $400 billion per year. Former Republican Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives Dennis Hastert pleaded not guilty in federal court Tuesday to charges of violating U.S. banking rules and lying to the FBI. Hastert, who once was second in line for the presidency, was ordered to surrender his passport. A former Illinois congressman turned Washington lobbyist is accused of withdrawing hundreds of thousands of dollars from his bank account to silence what media reports say is someone Hastert may have sexually molested while a high school teacher and wrestling coach. A moderate Syrian rebel coalition seized a major southern military base from government forces Tuesday. The Southern Front Alliance took what is known as the 52nd Brigade Base after a day of what a rebel spokesman calls short and quick but fierce fighting. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says 20 government soldiers and 14 rebel fighters were killed. Greece has offered a new economic reform plan to its international creditors. The debt-ridden nation hopes to avoid a possible default at the end of June. Details of the new plan were not disclosed, but some officials said they focused on revising fiscal targets and new ways to generate revenue. Greece's new leftist government is engaged in a standoff with its creditors over implementing austerity reforms agreed to by earlier Greek governments. I'm Davie DeForrest.
That's the latest world news from VOA.